This is not good news, I'm afraid, from food price increases to another possible fuel hike in February. What happened to January? We were all feeling so positive, weren't we? Well, are we going to be getting a break anytime soon? Let's not forget the numbers never lie. From next week, motorists we're going to be forking out a little bit more for petrol. Diesel, the expectation is going to come down a little bit, but petrol is going to be going up. Experts say persistent oil supplies are worrying globally sensitive markets, pushing up prices after the International Energy Agency warned that the price cap on Russian crude could dent supply. So there's a number of things at play here, and thankfully we have economist Professor Bonke Dumisa joining me to try and make sense of all of it. Prof, good to have you on ENCA. Always appreciate your time. So let's just, first of all, if you don't mind, I'd like to get your thoughts on this coming Thursday, the MPC. Do you expect the interest rates to be going up? Because that's going to have a knock-on effect as well, won't it? Good morning.
Good morning to you and your listeners and the audience. I am not saying I expect, I am saying there will be a repo rate increase announced at about 3 p.m. on Thursday, the 26th of January, 2023. The reason why I'm saying that it is because with this improved CPI at 7.2%, it is still far higher than the target inflation rate range of the South African Reserve Bank of 3 to 6%. So every time the CPI is higher than the target inflation rate range, the South African Reserve Bank always increases the repo rate. The only question now is whether it's going to be 50 basis points or 25 basis points. I don't think they will do what they've done over the past 3 meetings they had when they increased the repo rate by 75 basis points. But it will go up.
Let's talk about, apart from that increase as well, this fuel price increase, Prof, as well. And I don't think we must underplay just how important a role the reopening of the Chinese economy has been in this. So the demand for oil has gone up. We know then that pushes the price up as well. And then we've seen the weakening of the rand because of what's happening over in Asia and their steel sectors reopening as well. So it's a bit of a double whammy for us here in South Africa. Is that why our fuel price is going up so substantially next week?
No, the reason why the petrol price is going to go up next week on Wednesday, the 1st of February 2023, is because the rand is somehow resilient. So it may have lost a little bit against the US dollar, but it is resilient. The problem is with the international Brent crude oil, which has on average increased by not less than $2 per barrel this year. And that is the reason why we are going to see this increase. But I want to reassure your listeners and audience that it's not that it's going to be as much as the petrol price cuts and diesel price cuts we had in January. These increases of petrol and diesel are definitely going to be lower than R1 per liter. It's not that it makes it any better, but it's far better than could be expected last year at this time.
Is there a magic number, Prof, that when we take a look at the markets in the morning and we're taking a look at the Brent crude price, is there a magic number that we're looking at? I always hear that it's roughly $90 per barrel. If we can try and keep it below that, we shouldn't expect that much of an increase. I think it's sitting at around 87, 88 this morning. Is there a magic number that we would like to watch out for?
Yes, there is a magic number that you must watch out for. And that is, I mean, for example, this morning, the petrol price, the crude oil price per barrel was at $88.24. So if ever by luck, it does not go above $90 per barrel within the next 2 days, we may be saved from the worst case scenario, because the average, I was calculating the average this morning. The average for January is roughly about $84 per barrel, compared to an average of about 81 US dollars per barrel in December. So that's where the real problem is. However, I must warn the South African consumers that there is another likelihood that the Central Energy Fund may include what they call the slate levy, which may worsen this thing. But I don't want to say much about that until they make their announcement. I hope they are not going to add any slate levy to make things worse for us.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you'd heard anything about that, but maybe you're right. Prof, we'll keep that for when it does actually happen, if it does happen. Very, very briefly then, I suppose this is an obvious answer, but I imagine we're all going to take a bit of a hit on food prices. Last brief question to you, Prof. Between the fuel price going up to some degree or another and the interest rates, as you mentioned, going up on Thursday, I imagine food about to become a lot more expensive as well.
Unfortunately, yes, because we must remember, as I always say here, every time the petrol and diesel price go up, our food inflation worsens because almost 95% of the food that we eat in South Africa is transported by road. So anytime you increase the diesel prices and petrol prices, the food prices go up as well. That's very unfortunate, but it's a perfect correlation all the time.
And one day we'll have good news, but today is not that day. I always appreciate your time, economist Bonke Dumisa, joining us. One day we'll be talking about fuel prices coming down and interest rates coming down, inflation coming down, food coming down. What a world that will be. It's not going to be today, though. 20 minutes.